Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking some truly fascinating insights from the AWGP-LITERATURE magazine. You know, if you've ever felt like you're just running on empty, completely bogged down by modern stress or fatigue, this text claims that the ultimate power source is quite literally right under your nose. We're going to explore the ancient, profound, and honestly widely misunderstood power of breath. Specifically, the source outlines the immense physical, mental, and spiritual benefits of pranayama. It's this incredible topic that bridges the gap between ancient tradition and our actual bodily mechanics. And we're going to unpack exactly what happens inside your body when you truly harness your breath.
Okay, let's dive into this. When someone tells you to take a deep breath, what usually pops into your head? Is it just a quick way to calm down before a stressful meeting? Or maybe grabbing a little extra oxygen during a heavy workout? Well, the source text immediately challenges this surface-level modern view. It asks us to look way, way beyond the basic mechanical action of just inhaling and exhaling. Think about it. If it were really just about moving air in and out to bump up your heart rate or increase simple blood flow, literally any normal aerobic exercise would do the exact same trick, right? So why is there such an immense historical emphasis placed specifically on pranayama? Right off the bat, we're hit with a major shift in thinking. The ancient sages and the really experienced practitioners cited in this text, they don't see breathwork as just some light physical routine. Not at all. They actually categorize it as a mahavigyan, which translates to a literal super science. They argue that those who actively practice it, rather than just theorizing about it from the sidelines, discover that it grants almost supernatural strength to both the body and the mind. So it's framed not as a workout, but as a deeply profound internal technology. Notice the stark contrast we're dealing with here. On one side, we have what the source playfully calls the modern Babu view, which is kind of a dismissive term for contemporary skeptics. These are the folks who look at pranayama and see absolutely nothing more than a small, basic exercise for the lungs. According to the text, they dismiss the deeper benefits simply because, well, modern science hasn't yet developed the precise instruments needed to measure them. But on the other side, we have ancient wisdom, which views this practice as a highly sophisticated superscience. The author impartially argues that, hey, while we might not have the technological tools to prove these miraculous benefits in a lab today, the lack of modern measurement absolutely doesn't invalidate the ancient results. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how this ancient superscience actually breaks down our bodily mechanics. The foundational claim here is that the air we breathe, which the text refers to as value, doesn't just hang out in the lungs. Experienced spiritual masters argue that just as blood circulates to every single hidden corner of your body, value does the exact same thing. And the text poses this brilliantly simple, logical question. If air didn't circulate absolutely everywhere inside us, wouldn't the body become as rigid as solid iron? Think of it almost like a giant internal power washer. Let's walk through the exact four-step sequence outlined by the source to explain this deep cleanse. Step 1, an intense, controlled breath enters the body through highly specific, scientific pranayama techniques. Step 2, this value surges forcefully to every single cell, running completely parallel to your bloodstream. Step 3 is where the magic allegedly happens. The text vividly describes how this intense circulation causes deeply rooted toxins, impurities, and disease-causing agents to literally tremble and dislodge from wherever they've been stuck. Finally, in step 4, all those dislodged impurities are swept up in the bloodstream and flushed completely out of your system. So by flushing out all those deep-seated impurities, the practice supposedly delivers highly tangible results. The text argues that this internal deep cleanse actually restores parts of the body that have become diseased or weak simply due to poor circulation of air and blood. But it doesn't stop at the physical level. The source explicitly claims that this process results in profound mental rejuvenation as well. And you know, in our high-stress modern world, where mental fatigue is practically the norm, the specific ailments the superscience targets are surprisingly relevant to our everyday lives. Just look at the conditions the text claims can be cured or vastly improved. On the physical side, we see things like arthritis, general body aches, splenomegaly, which is an enlarged spleen, and even tumors, right alongside chronic colds and migraines. But the mental benefits are what really stand out. Memory loss, mental fatigue, irritability, and that persistent influx of negative thoughts. How exactly does breath fix a bad mood or a tired brain? Well, the text describes these specific breathing techniques as acting like a literal chemical coolant. It creates a chemical coordination that extracts excess heat from the brain, leaving the mind entirely calm, cooled, and completely refreshed. Now, if that sounds like a massive sweeping claim, the editor of AWGP-Jyoti, Shri Sharma, shared a wild case study to back it up. He recounted the story of a man whose memory was so completely shot that he couldn't even remember what he had done an hour prior. But by being gently guided through the practice of pranayama, this man's memory was entirely restored in just 3 months. No way, right? The text notes that this is just one of many instances where severe mental illnesses and memory issues were allegedly cured entirely through these highly specific breath practices. But here's the twist. As incredible as those physical and mental health benefits are, the text reveals that they're essentially just positive side effects. For those seeking true self-reflection, the source describes pranayama as the highway of spirituality. It is the main, paved road to higher consciousness. The argument is that you simply cannot reach the ultimate destinations of the spiritual path without driving down this highway first. So, the crucial point is really represented by the number 4. In the ancient philosophy of Ashtanga Yoga, there are 8 fundamental limbs or components to mastering the self. The ancient masters gave pranayama immense respect by placing it squarely in the 4th position. It sits right there in the middle. It acts as the vital VIP bridge between the external physical practices of yoga and the internal, deeply meditative practices. Basically, without mastering step 4, you simply cannot move forward.
And why is it this absolutely essential bridge? Because mastering step 4 leads directly to Chitta Nigra, which is the complete control and restraint of the chaotic mind. The text argues that achieving this kind of mental silence is nearly impossible without pranayama. Once you control the breath, you control the mind. And achieving this level of control is exactly what paves the way for advanced spiritual milestones. It allows the practitioner to properly hold deep concentration, eventually leading to the piercing of the 6 chakras and triggering Kundalini Jagran, or ultimate spiritual awakening.
The source wraps all of these concepts up with a truly brilliant metaphor. It compares pranayama to the paras, the mythical philosopher's stone that instantly turns ordinary iron into pure gold just upon contact. The author takes a firm, unapologetic stance here. It doesn't matter if modern scientists dismiss it today just because they lack the tools to measure its depths. The philosopher's stone remains the philosopher's stone. Its power isn't diminished simply because it isn't universally understood by modern metrics. The stone still works. Which leaves us with an ultimate challenge. The author essentially asks, why wait for scientists to build a machine to prove what you can just experience for yourself? What more proof is needed for the evident, the text asks. If you're curious, the invitation is completely open to touch your own iron to the stone. Don't just take the ancient sages' word for it, and definitely don't wait for modern validation. The ultimate test is personal experience. So, based on everything we've explored from this fascinating text today, will you try it?